unit testing concepts. Okay, in detail, because there is a difference in the unit testing and module testing. Both are different. Okay, so unit testing is different, and I hope my screen is visible. Unit testing is different, and module testing is different. Module testing. So unit testing, it is done by the developer during the development. Okay, on code, okay, source code. The developer will do the testing. Okay, so as you know, in testing level, this is the first level of testing. Okay, unit testing is the first level. So today we will discuss the difference between the unit testing and module testing, and also the other testing levels. Okay, so unit testing, it is a type of software testing where individual units, okay, where the units or the components of the software are tested. Like for example, here the unit testing is done during the development, that is the coding phase. During the coding phase, we go for this unit testing. It is done by the developer. The unit testing is done by the developer. Okay, so unit test isolates a section of the code and verifies its correctness. Okay, here mainly we are checking the section of the code. The unit may be an individual function or method, procedure, module, or object. Okay, so here we'll mainly focus on what is unit testing, how to do the unit testing techniques, and there are some open source tools are there. Open source tool for unit testing, and TDD, test driven development. Okay, and what are the myth of the misconception of unit testing, advantage, disadvantage, and all. Okay, so unit testing is important because software developers sometimes try saving the time during the minimal unit testing. Okay, so what happens? The unit testing, the means code is written by the developer. Code, the source code of a particular module or project. Okay, source code is written by the developer, and what they do, the unit testing is also done by the developer. Okay, unit testing is also done by the developer. Source code is written by the developer, and also unit testing is also done by the developer. So sometimes what they do, this is a myth, because it is in inappropriate unit testing that leads to the high cost defect fixing during the system testing or integration testing. Means what happens here, the source code is written by the developer and unit testing is also done by the developer. Okay, so what happens, there is a misconception, like what they do, suppose if suppose if the Madhuri has written the code of a particular project. Okay, and she has a confidence that the code is written by me, so no need to test, no need to go for the unit testing. Okay, she is having that confidence, but there may be some defects that arises in the system testing, or because unit testing is it is who is doing this, it is done by the developer. It is done by the developer. Okay, so what happens, sometimes, like for example, if suppose if the Madhuri is doing the source code. Okay, she is written a source code of the particular project, and here the emul. Okay, so she is doing the she is also developer, and she is doing the unit testing. She is doing the unit testing. So now here so emul she trust Madhuri that the code is written by the Madhuri means, so she believes that no, it is everything is fine. Okay, she won't focus more on the unit testing. Okay, she believes that whatever the written by the Madhuri it is correct. Means she won't write more test cases for the unit testing. Okay, she won't focus more. So what happens if there may be some defects that arises, and suppose if the defect arises, it leads to more cost in system testing or integration testing or in beta testing, okay, at the client side. So that's why we should go for the testing in the early phase. Okay, so the testing is very important in each phase. So unit testing, okay, if the defects, because in this initially it won't arises those defect, but if the defect arises in particular these phases, okay, if we won't fix the defects in acceptance testing or system testing, we are supposed to fix the defects. But if we are not fixed those defects in the early stage, and if we fix at the later stage, the cost will be more. Okay, the cost will be more. So unit test helps to fix the bugs early in the development cycle, and it saves the cost. Okay. The main thing is that it fixes the early in the development cycle, and it saves the cost. It also helps the developer to understand the testing code, okay, and enables them to make the changes quickly. Okay, because you are dealing with a unit, okay, a particular method, function, procedure, or a source code with a very few line of source code, few lines of source code you are dealing with. So here you can understand the testing code base and enables them to make changes quickly. Okay. So good unit test that serve as a project documentation, and unit test helps with code reuse, migrate both your code and your test to new project. Okay. So the unit testing is very important. So let me know what are the testing that unit testing tools that you know. Okay, unit testing. Anyone? I think you people are gone through some of the JUnit framework, Java testing. Okay, unit testing tools. There are so many open source tools are there. Okay, I think you people are familiar with this Java unit testing, TestNG, PHP unit. These are the open source testing unit testing tools. Unit testing tools. One of the most commonly used is NUnit, open source. It is initially ported from the JUnit. Okay, so that installation and all, it is easy, as if you know some core Java concepts. So Java unit is an open source unit testing framework. for the Java, it is useful for the Java developers to write and run a repeatable test case. Okay, so mainly it is useful to avoid the like for repeatable test cases. Repeatable test cases. So JUnit is it is very useful. JUnit Java framework unit testing. So Erich Gamma and Kent Beck they initially developed it, and it is an instance of X unit architecture. So here you can just go through the details like how to install and all. Okay, for the JUnit you can just click on this particular link junit.org. I think now the 5 version is available for the JUnit. Okay, JUnit, and you will just install it. It is taking some time, but here it look like this. Okay, download and install, then click on the that jar file. Okay, download and install, then download the following jar and put them on your test class path. In the central repository you are shown all the versions of the JUnit that can be downloaded, so you can just select with some higher version. It is taking some time. Okay, you can just go to the junit.org. I think now 5 is available, maybe you can just check it out. Okay, then download this jar. Okay, yeah, it is not cancelled. Okay, yeah, the some steps are there. You can just go ahead with these steps. JUnit environment setup. See, once you go through this particular JUnit, no, so you can add it in your resume. Like the unit testing Java unit framework. Okay, so you can just follow. It is very easy, as you are already gone through the core Java concepts and all. So it is not a difficult task to handle. For setting the path, install the JUnit jar file in the Eclipse, configure the build path, okay, and verify whether the required jar file for the JUnit is my build path. Okay, verify the JUnit setup. You can just you just follow the instructions whatever they are given. Okay, this is taken from the Guru 99. Here is the output or the result for your test, that if it is successfully executed it will show the green color. See, this is the how it looks. Okay, how you can do the testing. Okay, here why I don't know why it is not cancelling. Okay, but here you can see it, this particular okay, so I just taken a screenshot. So here once you execute now that particular code, you can see here there is a green color. Okay, so this green that indicates that your particular test case is pass. Test case is pass. So this is your uh, assignment third in your tutorial. Assignment third. Okay, in your tutorial part. Tutorial. Okay, that is JUnit unit testing framework. Okay, yeah, even the Selenium ID also you can use in the same way. Selenium ID. Okay, here it is showing the like how much time it is spent. Okay. So run as, I think you people are gone through the such in Eclipse. Yes, Madhuri, let me know. Madhuri,
Yes, sir.
have you gone through the JUnit testing?
Yes, in Java syllabus we have gone through JUnit.
Okay, means like is there any assignment, or you are just you checked out, like you have done any testing? Is it a part of the
The
syllabus?
sir, yeah, sir Gajbhai sir has showed a demo and
Mm-hmm.
also a tute was given, Moodle assignment.
No, no, okay. So, so you can add it those testing frameworks and all in your resume also, like you mentioned, no, like skills and all. Okay. So in that particular skill, you can mention it that you know the JUnit. Okay. So that is an add-on to your skill. Like normally you mention like generally C, C++, Java, Python. You mention, okay. So along with that, you can mention the JUnit also, specific. So it is required. It is required for the unit testing. So how to do the unit testing? In order to do the unit testing, developer write a section of the code to test a specific function in a software application. Okay, a specific function. Okay, you need to write a code to test a specific function in the software application, and developer can also isolate this function to test more rigorously, which reveals the unnecessary dependence between the functions that are being tested. So there are two types, that manual testing and automated unit testing. So unit testing is commonly the automated but may still be performed manually. Okay, it is automated by using some tools. We can do the unit testing. Okay, so a manual approach to unit testing that may employ a step-by-step instructional document. So under the automated approach of unit testing, okay, under the automated approach of unit testing, a developer writes a section of the code in an application just to test a particular function, procedure, method, okay, and they would later comment out and finally remove the test code when the application is deployed. So a developer could also isolate a function to test it more rigorously. This is more thorough unit testing practice that involves a copy and paste of the code to its own testing environment. So isolating the code that helps in revealing the unnecessary dependency between the code that is being tested and other units or the data space. See, the unit testing, where once we are like complete the testing with a defect free, okay, because there is no dependency here. We are focusing on the individual unit, individual function, individual procedure, individual methods. Okay, so once this particular testing unit testing is error free or defect free, then there are very few error or the defect arises when we go for the integration, testing. So that's why we need to go with both manual and automation testing of unit test. Okay, both manual and automation. A coder generally uses the unit test framework. Okay, so as you already know, JUnit testing framework. A coder generally uses the unit testing framework to develop the automated test cases using an automation framework. So the developer codes a criteria into the test to verify the correctness of the code. So there are many frameworks are available for the testing. Okay, And the workflow of unit testing includes create a test case, a review or rework on the test case, baseline, execute the test case, as we have seen in this particular okay, here they are given some steps. Okay, you create a here that a test runner class to execute the about test. So there are what type of techniques? Okay, so in the tutorial part, you need to work on a simple program. Okay, with the JUnit testing framework. So in the theory means what we are covering in the unit testing. Okay, what we are covering the statement, we are covering the decision, the condition, branch, condition coverage, finite state machine coverage. Okay, so unit testing techniques are mainly categorized into three parts, which are the black box testing that involves the testing of user interface along with the input output, and white box testing that involves the functional behavior of the software application, and gray box testing that is used to execute the test suites, test methods, test cases. So unit testing that includes the black box testing, white box testing. We are following all these techniques in the unit testing, and gray box testing to execute all the test suites. Okay, so these are the techniques that we are applying in the unit testing: black box, white box. Okay, so black box testing that involves the testing of the user interface along with the input and output. So in that we are covering these unit testing coverage, statement coverage. Okay, these are all code coverage techniques. Code coverage techniques in unit testing. We need to cover all the code to perform the unit testing. So in unit testing, we are covering the statements, decision, branch, condition, okay, and finite state complex functions. Then unit testing mock objects. Mock object means suppose if there are some of the variables or some of the any declaration is missing. Okay, so unit testing relies on the mock objects being created to test the section of a code that are not a part of the complete application. Okay, here it is a mock object that fill for the missing parts of the program. If suppose if some of the you might have a function that needs a variable or objects that are not created yet. Still you are not created, but you are doing a testing. Okay, so the variables or objects that still not created, but you are using that. Okay, so to fill that we create a mock objects. Okay, temporary, that we do in the integration testing also, that there is some concept is there. So in unit testing, no, what happens if suppose if this particular module 1, module 2, this is ready, module 2, module 1 is ready, and we are doing some integration testing. This is still under the process. This module is not completed. It is in process, it is not completed. This process means they are working, the team is working on this module. Okay, so that time we use a dummy module. Okay, a dummy module for the testing, for the integration testing. So yeah, that is called as In integration testing, we use that some concept is there. Integration testing. Yeah, stubs and drivers. It is called as stubs and drivers in integration testing. So here what happens? Suppose in the top-down approach, this is a top-down integration testing technique. So this particular module it is ready. This particular module is ready. Okay, and this module still they are working. It is in process. Okay, the team is working on this module. Okay, so what happens if it is still means it is not completed, but we need to test. We need to test the integration of this module 1 and module 2. So in that we use a dummy module that is called as a stub. Okay, it is called as stub. Means we create a dummy module. Okay, so it is similar to, like, for example, we can say your mock interview. Okay, what is mock interview? The one who is taking the interview, the interview is a dummy. Okay, the interviewer is a dummy, means he's not the final interviewer. Okay, before your final interview you are just it is a sample test, sample mock test. Okay, so that we can, it is a dummy module, you can say. Okay, just it is a sample, it is not your final to provide the job. Okay, so similar to that, in this particular here module we use a stub. We call it as a stub. Stub and driver, two concepts are there. Stub and driver concepts in integration testing. Okay, means if any of the modules working is pending, then we use those concepts stub and driver in integration testing. So unit testing tools, JUnit, free to use the testing tool. It is used for the Java programming language, and it provides assertion to identify the test methods. Then NUnit, it is also a unit testing framework for all .NET languages. JMockit, Emma, open source toolkit, PHP unit. These are the few unit testing, open source testing tools. And this is a process, test driven development, and the unit testing framework. Okay, how you can perform the unit testing. And there is a misconception that it requires a time, and I am always overscheduled. Means unit testing it requires a time, and I am always overscheduled. My code is rock solid. I do not need a unit test. Okay, So this is one of the misconception. Means what we think, we believe that whatever the code the written by the developer, they say that as it is error free or okay, rock solid. So I do not need the unit test. I do not need the unit test. But it is one of the biggest myth, because if there are some defect arises in the unit test and if we cannot fix in the early stage, it will cost more at the later stages. So myth by their very nature are false assumptions. So these assumptions lead to a vicious cycle. Means it costs more. Okay, so this is the truth of truth is unit testing increases the speed of development. Okay, it increases the speed of development. Means you won't find defects in the later stages. Okay, so the more pressure you feel, means the more the work you do. Okay, more pressure you feel, less test you write, and less test you write, less stable your code becomes, because you need to write more number of test cases, more number of test cases. Okay, if you write more number of test cases, then your code will be stronger, more secure. Okay, more secure. And if it is less stable because of test cases less stable and less productive and accurate you are, and more pressure you feel. Okay, so that's why you need to write more number of test cases, so that your code will be more secure, means error free, we can say error free, and it is more productive. Okay, so that it increases the speed of the development. Okay, so you need to write more number of test cases, then your code will be more stable and more productive and more accurate, and you will feel easy, you won't feel burden. Okay, okay, you won't think that you are always overscheduled. Means if you go as per the plan, then you won't find any difficulty. Okay, it is always a true, like if there is any complexity involved, or if there is any more task involved, then there is a more effort required, and you will get a fruitful result, that is success. Whichever you are getting easy, like simple example, in persistent only we can see, like for example, to reach up to the 9 LPA, they need to cross base package and that 7.5 advanced coding round, their interview and all, because it is not an easy task. They need to cross all these stages. And suppose if it is easy means like you are getting a base package, that is with only one round. With only one round you got this. If you want to double, then you have to put more effort. Okay, you have to put more effort, then you will get the double. Still easy means, like for example in the TCS, NQT or in Ninja. Okay, once you clear the online test, a simple HR and technical interview. Okay, then your final selection with 3.36 LPA. Still it is easy. Means less test cases it is less secure means less package. If there are more process involved, more test cases, then you will be more profit means you are getting see the package. So in the same way, in the unit testing, if you write the less test cases, then your code will be less stable. Means there are some error involved, and it leads to less productive, and it leads to more pressure you feel. More pressure means like suppose if you work for 1 year with 3.36, definitely you will compare with your friends. You will compare with your friends that he is getting 5 LPA and I am getting 3.6. Okay, that pressure you feel. Okay, so advantages. What are the advantages of the unit testing? The developers looking to learn what the functionalities provided by the unit. Okay, the developers they are looking to learn what the functionalities provided by the unit and how to use it can look at the unit test to gain the basic understanding of the unit API. And the unit testing allows the programmer to refactor the code, divide the code at the later, and make sure that they still works correctly. Then the procedure is to write the test cases for all the functions methods so that whenever a change that causes a fault, it can be quickly identified. So you need to write the test cases for all the functions, all the methods that are involved. So due to the modular nature of the unit testing, we can test the parts of the project without waiting for the others to be completed. Okay. So here we are testing the on the part of the project. We are testing the part of the project without waiting for the others to complete. So that because it is a unit testing, we are testing the units. That problem arises in the integration testing, where in integration testing, if suppose some of the modules are not completed, as I told, we use some dummy module, that is stub and driver, stub and driver. These are called dummy modules. These are called dummy modules for the testing. Then drawbacks of unit testing. Unit testing can't be expected to catch every error in a program. It is not possible to evaluate all the execution paths. Unit testing by its very nature focuses on the unit of code. Hence it can't be catch the integration errors. Okay, so here we are like suppose, so one general example I can give. So here like Madhuri, okay, so she placed finally, okay, in that is in one company she placed, and here suppose Meet, okay, he is also placed. Some they are unknown. This is unit 1, this is unit 2, they are unknown, and now they have to work in a team. Okay, so that integration, they have to work in a teamwork, the project teamwork. Then the some problem arises. In the unit they are good, 100% they are good individually, but when problem arises, if they work in a team. So unit testing by its nature very focus on unit code. As you people like they select in a company that is based upon the your performance, individual performance. It is recommended that the unit testing can be used in conjunction with the other testing activities. And also this is the one drawback, that there are some we cannot cover all the errors. We cannot cover all the errors. So integration error, it is one of the drawback. So that also we can cover in the integration testing method. And these are some best practices for the unit testing. So unit test cases should be independent. In case of any enhancement or change in the requirement, unit test case should not be affected. If there is any change in the requirement and all, so unit test it should not affect. Test only one code at a time. These are some best practices how you can do the unit testing. Follow clear and consistent naming convention for your unit test. This is very important, naming conventions. And in case of change in the code in any module, ensure there is a corresponding a unit test case for that particular module. So bugs are identified before doing the unit testing that must be fixed and before proceeding to the next phase. Adopt a test as your code approach. So this is very important. You need to adopt a approach that is test as your code. You need to test, that is for unit testing. You need to test as it is your code. Test as your code approach. The more code you write without testing, the more paths you have to check for the errors. So there are some best practices that you need to follow for the unit testing. So keep on the straight path with a proper unit testing. The more code you write without testing, the more path you have to check for the errors. This is very important. The more code that you write without testing, more code you write without testing, you are not done any testing, without testing, so more path you have to check for the errors, because there are more path you will get, more paths that you have to check for the errors. So that's why you need to go for the testing. That's why unit testing is very important. You have to do the testing in the your part, your that's so code coverage methods. Okay, statement coverage, branch coverage, and all. So each and everything you have to cover. Okay, so the more code you write without testing, the more paths you have to check for the errors. So unit testing is defined as a type of software testing where the individual units or the components of the testers are tested. So as you can see, there can be a lot involved in the unit testing, and it can be a complex or the simple depending upon the application that are being tested. And it is always necessary at some level. Okay, so this is all about the software that one of the level of software testing, that is unit testing. And you try to go through the JUnit testing, Java testing framework. It is very important because as you need to upgrade your skills. Only theory, okay, only theory, it won't means it is difficult for you people, because as you want to enter into industry means you have to focus on the frameworks, tools, and all. Okay, theory means is just to understand the concept. Okay, so is there anything to discuss? If you have any questions, if you have any query, you can ask. And for this subject, tutorial is also there, as you know. So complete your assignments. Still, again, I'll repeat that what you have to do in the your. Already, I have posted the two tutorial assignments. I already posted the two tutorial assignments. So in the first tutorial one, tutorial for the first assignment, you have to I have provided some of the like a test scenario for any e-commerce applications or any software applications. So based upon those applications, you need to write the test scenario. Okay, you need to write the test scenarios, as test scenarios are different. Okay, at least a minimum 10 test scenarios you need to write. Then for tutorial 2, you need to write the test cases. Okay, so based upon the whatever the test scenario you are selected, so based upon those scenario you are required to write a minimum 10 test cases. Okay, minimum test 10 test cases for the, that too in a excel format, that format it is provided. Okay, or in a only one excel sheet, as yesterday I have shown that the format like test case id. Okay, then test description, then test steps, uh, test scenario. Okay, test scenario. Okay, then means one test scenario that can contain the multiple test idea test cases. Okay, then test sample data. Okay, then expected result, then result actual result. So you need to compare your actual and based upon that you need to write the test case whether it is pass or fail status. So in one excel file you can write 10 test cases in this way. For one scenario you need to write 10 test cases. Okay, so this is for the one test case scenario, 10 test cases. Okay, likewise for scenario 2, again you need to write the 10 test cases. In this way you complete your assignment. Okay, and in the first assignment you are just listing whatever that 10 test cases based upon the 10 scenarios. Okay, so in this way you need to complete. Yes, any doubt regarding this? Okay, so if you don't have any doubt you can leave.